What's up, my guys? What's up, my girls? AKA my dear and beloved Danny Flowis. It's good to be with you one time for, let me check, the 16th times, I guess, if this is your first time listening to the Danny Flow podcast, where I talk about philosophy, faith, family, fatherhood. Try to have a little bit of fun as well. I started this podcast back in October with the intention of releasing about 2 podcasts per week. The first podcast that I would release would be in English, and then I would translate it. But it turned out to be a lot of work. Not that I'm scared of a lot of work, or maybe I am scared of a lot of work. But anyways, so it turns out that the people that I knew, it's not that they weren't interested, but they didn't really know how to use podcast apps, I guess, right? So now I just do this in English. That's why it's episode 22, but it's only the 16th episode in English. For those of you keeping score at home, which is probably nobody but me, right? So I'm your boy Danny Flo. Like I said, in this episode, what I want to do is recently on my Instagram, at Danny Flo, by the way, DANI_FLO, recently, and when I say recently, I mean literally yesterday, as we millennials like to say. I'm a millennial. I don't mind being classified as a millennial. Some people get weirded out about the different ways that we classify or categorize each other, right? Like, millennials don't want to be called millennials, or they don't like the millennial stereotypes. I personally think that they're funny. Maybe I'll do an episode on that. But, or like Gen Z, aka Zoomers, aka post millennials. Also, I think maybe don't like being classified that way or categorized that way. We get like really weird about being put in a box. Sometimes it doesn't really bother me. But literally, as I was saying, literally, as we millennials, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not Italian. Literally, as we millennials like to say, even when it's not literally, we still use literally. Even when it's figuratively, metaphorically, whatever, we still use literally, all caps. So just yesterday on my Instagram, I do a little IGTV series called Monday Motivation with your boy Danny Flo, where I attempt to motivate all my followers on the Gram Bam to do the thing that they want to do, but for some reason haven't started. So yesterday what I did, because we're under semi-quarantine due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Does anybody know the difference between an epidemic and a pandemic? I've heard different things, but that's another topic for another day. So we're kind of bummed out, right? So what I did was I put a timer and I started counting my blessings for my followers, and I actually I put 90 seconds, and I thought I was just gonna be able to like list things off, but since I was thinking out loud, I was very wordy, as you can tell, and 90 seconds wasn't enough. So then what I did was I just kept going until I couldn't think of anything anymore. So I think I want to do something similar right now. I'm gonna put a timer on, and I'm gonna talk about women, right? From a man's perspective, from a philosopher's perspective who is a man. Women are philosophers as well. Philosophettes? Philosophrix? Tricks? I don't know. Let's just call them philosophettes. Philosophers and philosophettes. We'll call them philosophettes. Right? But I want to talk about motherhood. I want to talk about knowing women. I want to talk about knowing mothers, knowing sisters, knowing women different ways, but from a man's perspective. I don't want to make this episode too long. I know that you, my guys and my girls, have things to do. Even under semi-quarantine, we have things to do. Some of us still have to go to our jobs. Praise God for that. Some of us have responsibilities at home. Some of us just don't want to listen to a long podcast. I get it. As my boy they say, I got you cut. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put a timer on, maybe for like 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna share with you what's on my mind about the beauty, right? The beauty of witnessing women, especially the special women in our lives, as a man. I don't know if you can hear that little tune in the background. My lovely wife, shout out to you, baby, I love you, is graciously doing laundry for the family. I never realized how long the washing machine tune for when it's done, I never realized how long it was until it interrupted my podcast. But anyway, I put some mood music over my immortal and iconic words, so hopefully it won't be too loud. But that's what that is. Shout out to all the moms who do laundry. We appreciate you. As Tupac said, I'm not gonna sing it. I don't want to make your ears bleed. Hey, is this a thing? So I actually do like to sing. I have a theory. This is probably, people who know anything about singing probably are going to be like, that's false. But I feel like I can sing in Spanish, but not in English. Let me know if that's a thing. Probably not. I'm probably not a good singer. I used to be in a band, actually. It's a conversation for another day. A Mexican band. I actually did an intro speech to it many years ago when I was younger Danny Flo, all those years ago when I was in community college. So maybe I'll talk about that on a podcast. But anyways, moms that do laundry and fold laundry and all that good stuff, we appreciate you. So I'm gonna put a timer and then just share some thoughts. I'll wrap it up when the timer goes off. Like I said, that way it's not too long. And the timer has already started. So before I met my wife, I was single for a little bit, some years, and unfortunately, and I do sincerely mean this, unfortunately, I think a lot of guys my age are somewhat indoctrinated to think a certain way about women, and it's not really, I don't think it's a good thing. I actually think it's a bad thing, and I actually think it's really subtle. I think some of it is intentional, some of it is not, but I think young guys who date, unfortunately, don't have, maybe somebody like me. I am trying to be this. I am attempting to be this. I am trying to teach younger guys. I enjoy teaching, as I said back in my first episode, but young guys, because of the type of things that they watch, not just, what am I trying to say? So because of the TV shows that they've watched, just the TV in general that they watch, not just shows, like, because there's still music videos on TV, and then TV is just way different in the 21st century. We have Netflix, we have Hulu, we have Amazon Prime, to name a few. We have YouTube, just the stuff that we consume, right? It shouldn't be something scandalous for me to say that most of the stuff that we consume is like hyper sexualized, right? Especially when it comes to the woman's body, which, by the way, a woman is not just her body, and I am going to get to that. But I think the reason I just want to briefly mention that is because I think that's causing us to miss out on a lot of the joys of witnessing what women can actually be, other than hypersexualized, like in the YouTube videos that are popular, right? And they're popular for all of the stuff that's like hypersexualized, like ads and stuff on YouTube, and and TV, like I was saying, the reason that they use women is because a woman's body is beautiful. Like, there's a difference between a woman's body and like a man's body. Like, sometimes just a man's body who is like physically strong, that's beautiful, but it's beautiful in a different way than like a woman's body. And maybe I'll get into that, but part of the beauty of being or of witnessing women, like I met my wife, and the beauty in being a guy and witnessing women be women, especially when you like love someone. So I've talked about this a little bit on the gram. Sometimes on Saturdays I do Saturday shout out, and the first one that I did was on my wife, because my wife is the most important person in my life. The funniest person that I know, by the way. She has a TikTok. She's killing the TikTok game. I'll probably pop up her username here. I don't know how to use TikTok because I'm old. I'm an old millennial, so my time is up. Give it up already. Stop doing these podcasts. So knowing women, and hopefully one special woman, I think we're missing out on this, because when I was dating my wife, at first I didn't know her at all, right? And then I got to know her, and we weren't friends. We kind of skipped that part. And I guess you could say that what we were doing is we were what you call talking. We skipped the friend stage, and we knew that if anything was going to happen between us, it was going to be something romantic. We were going to become a couple. We were going to become boyfriend and girlfriend. We were going to court. We were going to date. And that's what we ended up doing. And so I didn't know her or knew her in a sense as a stranger. She was just one stranger among many. And then I got to know her as a potential girlfriend. And that experience, that accruement of this knowledge, but personal knowledge, right? It's not a knowledge that you know of, like I know how to use this microphone, I know how to use this camera, I know how to use, right? It's like a heightened knowledge. I hope I'm explaining myself correctly, but I got to know her, and like that is I think that's not the part that we're missing out on, because a lot of times when we're living our life a certain way, like maybe serial daters, right? And unfortunately many of us men, because like I said, the things that we learn through the things that we watch and listen to, and maybe some advice that maybe from people that had good intentions or maybe not. It's hard to read people's heart. I don't want to get into that. It's above my pay grade, right? Only God can read hearts. And last time I checked, I wasn't. God, I could check again, but I'm also not psychic, but I'll probably get the same answer. So we don't really miss out on that part, because a lot of times we're willing to change a little bit in order to get into a relationship. The part that we're missing on is, so my wife, she was a stranger. I got to know her, right? And getting to know her as my potential girlfriend was beautiful, but then she was my girlfriend, and I got to know her as my girlfriend, and that is a special kind of knowledge as well. Hopefully most of us guys are not dating multiple people at one time. Now if multiple women decide to be in a relationship with you at the same time or whatever, we could maybe talk about that, some of the implications, right? Philosophers love talking about implications, but hopefully you're not dating someone or multiple women at the same time that don't know about each other, because that's what we call lying, right? And so Um, we can talk about the implications of lying, whether lying is a good thing or not, as well. But let's, for the sake of what I'm trying to talk about, um, let's say you're just dating one person. It's a special kind of knowledge because you're not, you don't know every woman as your girlfriend. You just know your ex-girlfriends as your girlfriend, and then you're knowing that specific woman, that specific girl as your girlfriend. And that's beautiful, and that's a special kind of knowledge. You get to know what she likes, you get to know what she dislikes, you get to know her, some of her wounds, some of her fears, some of her hopes, some of her dreams, what puts her in a good mood, what puts her in a bad mood. You get to see some things that maybe she's not aware of herself. Sometimes you get to see some potential in her that she's not aware of herself either. So pretty much most of us are on the same page. Well, but here's where I lose some of you. So after I got to know my wife as my girlfriend, I proposed, right? And I think I proposed rather quickly than what most men do. Some men wait up to a decade to propose, and for different reasons, right? I'm sitting on an exercise ball. The secret is out. I don't want to dwell on that too much. So then I got to know her as my fiance, and that's also a special kind of knowledge because even though it was me and her that were engaged, it had like this ripple effect. First of all, like I said, it's a beautiful. So now I knew her as my fiance, and now it wasn't just like I knew her as like my potential like wife, which is crazy, right? Most men don't get to do that because most men don't want to commit. And I think a lot of it has to do with the damage that we did when we were serial daters, when we were not taking this special kind of knowledge seriously, right? See, the timer went off and I still have a lot to say. So let me try to wrap it up. So I think I think we're robbing ourselves of this kind of special knowledge because then I got to know her as my fiance, which was beautiful. We planned a wedding together, right? We talked about what we were going to do after we got married, where we were going to live. We had a lot of decisions to make, and some of you guys out there don't know what it's like. You're missing that knowledge. You don't know what it's like to do that with the person that you love, right? And then we got married, and so I went from knowing her as a stranger to knowing her as my potential girlfriend, to knowing her as my girlfriend, to knowing her as my fiance / potential wife. Then I got to know her as my wife. I got to witness that with my eyes, right? With all of my senses, I got to witness that. And thanks be to God, we got pregnant, and I got to know her as a pregnant woman. I've got to know her as a pregnant wife, like as a pregnant like mother. And that is also a special and beautiful type of knowledge because I'm a man, right? I've checked, and not to be crass, this is like those video game ratings, rated E for everyone, right? Everyone is welcome on the Dani Flow podcast. I like to run a clean show, right? That way the children can listen to this podcast as well as the adults. For millennials, for zoomers, for boomers, for Gen X, for the greatest generation, for everybody. This is for everybody. Not to be crass, but I know I'm a man because I've checked and I've rechecked the plumbing parts, if you know what I mean. So I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I'm never going to know what it's like to be a woman, not firsthand. My wife is the most important person in my life. I trust my wife. I can only know what it's like to be a woman through her because she is a woman. Because again, not to be crass, but she's checked the parts, the plumbing, right? I'm sorry. I just thought that it would be funny if I like bleeped out the word parts when I published. I don't even know how to do that actually, so I'm not gonna do that. I just got derailed because I thought maybe that'd be funny if I did that. So I can only trust my wife, right? And my wife can't speak for all women. She can only speak for herself, right? And maybe she can speak for some women in her life that have shared their thoughts and experiences with her. But I can only witness what it's like to be a woman. But if you don't, as a man, if you don't kind of allow yourself to witness this, because when you're talking to someone and are treating them as a potential girlfriend, what you're saying is, I want to know what it's like for you specifically to be my girlfriend and for me to be your boyfriend. I want to know what that's like. I don't want to ponder and think about it in theory or imagine it. I want to concretely know what it's like to do that. And most of us stop there, and you're cheating, you're robbing yourself, right? Because then you can know what it's like concretely for that person, that if you're in a serious relationship with somebody, you've already invested all of this time that you're never going to get back, and for some reason you still kind of want to hang out in limbo, in like the relationship, limbo, the dating limbo, the commitment limbo, whatever you want to call it, right? And you're not allowing yourself to know what it's like for that person to be, for that woman, right, to be, which, by the way, somebody else might be dying to date that woman, and she chose to be with you, which is a massive compliment. I've talked about that before on this podcast. You can look through my episodes, right? You're not allowing yourself to know what it's like for that woman to be your fiance, your potential wife, and then you're not allowing yourself to know that woman as your wife, or to know that woman as the mother of your children. And that's what I still have that to look forward to, and I'm really excited. So I've known my wife as a stranger. That's probably, at this point, that's the least favorite way that I've known her. Then I knew her as my potential girlfriend, then as my girlfriend, then as my fiance / potential wife, then as my wife, then as my wife and the mother of our son. And she's obviously going to be the mother of all of my children. But then, I've also known her as an aunt, right? I have that knowledge, and I get to, in the future, God willing, know her as the future of the grandmother of my grandkids. What a blessing, man. You're missing out on all this. Wait, if you have a girlfriend and you've been together for a while, and you have all these reasons why you're not proposing or getting married, you want to have a particular career, a specific career, you want to have a specific house or a specific car, or accomplish, I want to run this marathon before I get this really difficult marathon before I get married and prove myself, or I want to have this job title, I want to graduate with my master's or my doctorates, whatever. I can tell you, I don't have to experience or know all that stuff to tell you that none of that stuff is going to be better than knowing your girlfriend as the wife and mother of your children. You get to hear her baby voice, right? You get to see how her body changes throughout pregnancy. You get to learn all this new stuff about her body. Like after I saw like my wife give birth, just wild and crazy and beautiful. Like whenever my wife doubts herself, I'm like, you pushed a human being out of your body. And then, because my wife is awesome, and she struggled at first, she learned how to feed my son with her body. We went to a lactation consultant and everything, learned way more about, I got to learn about breastfeeding. It was pretty cool. So, like, nowhere that you can travel, none of the things that you can accomplish are going to compare with knowing the woman that you love as your wife. You're like the mother of your kids. It's amazing. You're robbing myself. You're robbing yourself. I'm not robbing myself. It's amazing. It's great. I'm like, after this, I'm gonna go hug my wife. So yeah, think about that. If you're a single guy, right? And maybe you're one of those guys that think it's cool to say, I'm never gonna get married. The institution of marriage is whack. It's all messed up or whatever. You're definitely robbing yourself. But if you're a guy that's got all of these reasons why right now is not the time to get married, well, like, my guy, COVID-19, bro, tomorrow's not guaranteed. And if this doesn't wake you up to commit yourself to this woman that you're dating, it doesn't really matter what age you are either. Like, I got married at 25. This year is going to be our 3rd year anniversary, thanks be to God. I think I should have done it sooner, definitely. Now that I know what it's like to see my wife as a mother and as a wife, I'm like, yeah, I should have done this way sooner. So just think about that. If you're a guy, you don't know what it's like to be a woman. Only women know what it's like to be a woman. That's a gift that they have. We have the gift of knowing what it's like to be a man. In addition, we have the gift of knowing what it's like to see women be women, but specifically to see, if we choose one woman, which we should, right? We have the great gift of witnessing, having these special kinds of knowledge. Like, my wife doesn't know what it's like to witness her as my wife from my perspective. Like, that's something that only I get to do. So let me know what you think, my guys and my girls. Did anything that I said make sense? I went way past 10 minutes. I'm definitely gonna do probably another episode like this on having that great gift of being able to witness my wife as my wife, the mother of my kids. She's gonna be I get to witness her as an aunt. I get to witness her as a sister to her sisters and to my sisters. I get to witness her as a daughter and as a daughter-in-law. It's great. It's amazing. And so, why wouldn't you want to know all that about the woman that you love? If you're a woman, you're amazing, right? All women are amazing. My wife, though, is my favorite woman. She's definitely in the top. Let me give you my top favorite woman. My wife, boom. Holy Mother of the Church, the mystical and visible body of Christ, the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of God, my mom, and all of my sisters, and then let me give you my top 6, or it's top 10. All of my future daughters. I'm not saying I'm gonna have 5 daughters, but all of my future daughters are definitely in the top 10. So cool. Please share your thoughts with your boy. We're a fan of thinking here on the Dani Flow Podcast. We like thinking here on the Dani Flow Podcast. So please share your thoughts with me. You can send me a DM on the gram at Dani_Flow. Comment below if you're watching on my YouTube channel. If you've added me on the Snappity chat, send me a snap or a message on Snap. You can also leave me a voice message. I've got the link to that in the description below, however you, my guys and my girls, want. And I just want to thank you for watching. Please like and share the link to the video so you can help me grow my channel. Thanks in advance for doing that. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Let me know in the comments how you found me, what I did to make you subscribe. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thanks for listening as well. Please share the link to the episode so you can help me grow my podcast, vodcast, and leave a review if you're feeling generous. Thank you to the 3 people that have left a review. I really appreciate it for you taking the time to do that, because you're never going to get that back. So, link to support the Dani Flow podcast financially is below. If my vodcast has added value to your life, please consider donating financially. If not, that's cool. I understand, especially in the current situation of uncertainty. Like I said, that's cool. Keep listening. I still want you to listen even if you don't donate financially. The best thing that you can do is share my podcast with your bestie, your nextie bestie, and on your Instagram stories if you feel like doing something cool, and make sure that you tag me, not tog. I don't know what tog is. Neither do you. Nobody knows what that is. Tag me if you mention me in your IG stories so that I see it and I get to express my gratitude to you, and I can repost it. That way my followers know that you did something cool. So thanks for putting up with me, my guys and my girls. I'm aware that I'm weird, but you like it. So as always, my dear and beloved Dani Flowers, remember what venerable servant of God Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen taught us: your life is worth living. Love you, my guys and my girls. Bye.